that ayah, it says, "In that is a sign that you can take good provision from this."
Anybody who's next? Anybody who's serious? Sailor Moon, you were here, so let's let Sailor Moon up. How you doing?
Hello?
Hi.
Hello? Hey. All right, you're gonna be disappointed with me because I ain't coming with that energy like Musa came with.
Actually, hopefully it's better. Musa was over there crying.
Uh,
He was crying and he couldn't engage. So hopefully I get somebody who can engage.
I wanna start off by saying like I don't speak Arabic. I am a Muslim. Uh,
Hmm.
I don't. I'm not really. I'm on a journey, so I'm learning too. You know way more about the Hadiths. You probably know way more about the Quran and the Bible. I'm on a journey, you know.
Yeah.
So I can give you this topic's perfect for me because I can talk without like trying to like pinpoint verses and stuff like what you and Musa were just like going back and forth. But I'm happy to give you my thoughts about certain verses. But I guess
I just want to know why you're a Muslim.
so in talking about like if Islam's true, like let's say like if you a random person who has no religious background, right?
Yeah.
And you tell them
No.
the
Why?
five
Yeah. Why are you? Why is Sailor Moon a Muslim?
oh well, I didn't really grow up in like religious like household,
Hmm.
but my father's Egyptian and my mother's Polish, so he kind of like we had like Islam in the house, but we weren't like very religious people. And as I got older into adulthood, I started reading and it kind of like it resonated with me that rather than Christianity. That makes sense.
Yeah. What resonated with you about Islam?
It just made more sense. I mean, we can go over to it.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
That's
What made sense that Islam was, that Islam, well, like what about Islam makes sense to you?
so. If I can start off by I guess all right, so I'll just go to Christianity and Islam. So basically the core beliefs of Christianity, right? You guys believe in original sin, right? And Jesus is the Lord and Savior, right? That's the
Hmm.
core belief. And
Hmm.
Islam, the core belief is the five pillars of Islam, right? The Shahada, pray, give charity, take the Hajj, and fasting. Those are the five pillars of Islam. And I guess you could call the pillars of Christianity is original sin, and Jesus died for your sins in order to be saved, right?
Yeah. What is that's somewhat true, but what is it about the five pillars that convinces you that Islam is true?
Well, also the belief that I can't wrap my concept about the Trinity. I can't.
But what
That doesn't make any sense to me.
the Trinity has nothing to do with Islam.
Right. But I
So
mean,
what about
if you was
Islam
to
is
pick,
true to you?
well, I mean, you could look at it you can see it from I'm sorry if I'm like stuttering or anything. I'm not used to this. I'm actually grateful for the opportunity to speak to you because I've watched a lot of your videos. So and
Hmm.
I'm not really used to like talking about stuff like this.
It's okay.
So I'm sorry if I sound a little like stuttery or anything. I'm kind of an introvert. So anyway, you were asking what makes sense. It just
Yeah.
so Islam claims like to like so it's like the Quran is supposed to be like the book of guidance for humankind, right? And the Bible's kind of like a history book in my eyes, what I think. It's kind of like a history book.
Give me one
So
second. 1 second. I'm so
okay,
sorry.
okay.
Give me one
No,
second.
no problem.
Um, Roman,
Yes, sir.
are you from your profile? Look like you was a Christian.
Yes, sir, I am. I just have a question. I mean, if you still have a discussion with Sailor Moon, go ahead. You can finish it up.
Yeah, yeah. So like, if you have a question, just go ahead and put your question in the comment sections. Okay.
Okay, my bad.
All right. Yeah, guys. I mean, the link says Muslims only. So I don't know. I don't know what if you guys don't see that. It's pinned. When you guys click the link, it says Muslims only, and you guys still deliberately click the link. So you guys are using up space in my backup, my lobby here, because I can only have a limited space, and this limited space is for the Muslims to join. That's why I say Muslims only. So can you guys respect that when I have a link that says Muslim only or non-Christians only? Can you guys respect that? If you have a question, put your question in the comment section or the chat, and so maybe a moderator can highlight that and I can see it. But you guys are now it's bringing a distraction from my conversation with Sailor Moon, because I have to check this, because my own Christian brothers and sisters don't listen or respect that I say Muslims only or non-Christians only. Stop doing that. Seriously. I say this in, like, I've been saying this, but I'm saying it in love. Stop doing that. All right. Okay. So go ahead. Sorry, man.
Where were we? My bad. I forgot to. I'm all over the place too.
You talking about I think you mentioned something about history.
History.
Well, let's just start.
The Quran is like a book of guidance, and
book of
the
guidance.
Bible's kind of like a history book in my eyes. Like, so Quran claims like one God and Muhammad is the last messenger, right? So and in the Christianity point of view, you guys like look at Jesus as the way of life, right? But I don't know, maybe you could correct me, but in when you read the Quran, you kind of like see like all like modern day problems happening now. Like it could be like solved. I know this is like a controversial thing, but if like the whole world was like actually follow the Sharia, and I'm American too, so I know I grew up like during 9/11 and everything, and all this is Islamophobe and everything, and we were taught that Sharia is bad and all that stuff, which as we can see now in this day and age, how the media and the news has like corrupted a lot of stuff.
How does this, your brother?
Brainwashed us.
You gotta help me, man. I'm trying to I'm trying to understand why you say Islam is true. Like, I'm not hearing it. Are you saying? Let me try to help. Are you saying
Okay.
that you believe in Islam because it's a book of guidance? That Islam is a religion of guidance? Is that what makes it true for you?
It's a book of guidance. It confirms everything that came before it in the Torah and Gospel.
Okay.
In some ways, yes, I know there's differences. Yes, that's obviously.
Well, that's something we can. Now you gave me something to work on. Now I can work with that.
Word.
So
Yeah.
the Quran is true because it is a book of guidance that also confirms it's in line with what came before it.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
So how do you know that? How do you know that the Quran actually is in line with the previous prophets? How do you know that?
Well, to be a Muslim, you can't reject Moses. You can't reject the belief of Abraham. You can't reject Jesus Christ. You can't reject none of these prophets. We're taught that. To be a Muslim, you can't reject none of these prophets that came to preach about God in the past. So that's the belief in Islam. Like you can't be Muslim and say, "Oh, I reject Moses. I reject Abraham. I reject Jesus Christ." You know what I mean? I reject Adam.
Right. So that's part of your belief. But so how do you know? I know that you believe in these prophets, but how do you know that you don't reject them? How do you know that you are in line with what they believed and what they taught? That the Quran is in line with all of them? How do you know?
Well, I mean, if you read a lot, I've read the Quran. I'm not like a scholar and everything. I've only like I don't
You read
remember
the Quran.
verses off the top. Right. So like,
how do you know that
the story?
The Quran is in line with what came before it? That's the question.
So give me like a prophet to talk about if you
Jesus.
want. So, well, to be a Muslim, you have to believe that the day of judgment, that Jesus is going to come back, I guess he had the Injil with him. He gave the good word, and then I
Yeah.
guess it got
How,
corrupted.
how do you know that the Quran lines up with the gospel, with the Injil that Jesus preached? How do you know that?
It there's 2 chapters in the Quran confirming the chapter of his mother Mary. We
How do you know that that
believe
chapter
in
is
the
in line?
Virgin.
How do you know? How do you know that that's in line with what Jesus taught? How do you know that chapter 19 of the Quran is in line with the gospel? How do you know?
Well, the Quran isn't really like I believe Jesus is only mentioned 25 times in the Quran, so it's not
Mhm.
really like talking all about the beliefs, like what the story of Jesus. It's not really telling a story of Jesus. It mentions Jesus. It mentions how like the the past people that were living in Jesus's time
So
had to
let me put
like
it like this.
right.
If I wanted to learn what Jesus believed and what he taught and where he preached and who his disciples actually were, if I wanted to learn these things, where would I go? What would I go to read?
Un, un, Unfortunately, I believe. I mean, I can't confirm because, like I said, I haven't like I'm not as like well. Let me just spit it out. I guess it's been what Jesus had 12 disciples, right? That's what the Bible says, right? And I
Yeah.
believe that's what the Muslim belief is too. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Don't get on me again. I'm still on a journey. I'm still learning. But if he only had 12, like that's kind of like easy for like that message to get lost along the way. Even in Muhammad's life, I believe, like the messages were starting to get corrupt by like the third generation, I believe, and they had to like pull it back, and you can it's it's hard to say. Well, it's hard for me to explain because I'm not real like I kind of like relate to religion to now and like modern times. Like the
Okay.
Bible, like you
So
see how
look,
okay,
let me just help now. So
right.
if you wanted to go and read about what Jesus believed and what he taught, who his disciples were, how they spread the message, you would go to the gospel. You would go
Okay.
straight to the gospel, man.
Right. Right.
So
But
if you want to know if the Quran is in line, if it actually confirms what Jesus taught, what came before him, what came before Muhammad, you have to go to the scriptures. You
but
have
and
to go check it.
right. But the problem that most Muslims have is like which scripture? Like do you go to the King James version? Do you go to the Standard Revised version?
It
The
doesn't matter
Catholic
what
has
version
like
you go
70
to.
something.
It doesn't matter
Like
what
which
English translation you go to. These are just
and that's
English
another
translations of the like. If I say, what Quran do I go to? The Sahih International version, the Pickthall version, the Yusuf Ali version, the Halali Khan
well
version. These are
well the
English
Quran has
translations.
well there's a difference though. The Quran is like like it has 114 chapters.
What does that
It
got to
has
do
been
with what I?
memorized for generation for 1400 years.
What does that got to
Like
do with what I just said? You said you're going against the Bible. You're confused about the Bible because it has different English translations, and I just named different English translations of the Quran.
but the Bibles have like there's one Bible has five more books than the other. Like that doesn't exist in the
That's
Quran.
just a canon.
Translation,
That's just a canon of scripture. That has nothing to do with the books themselves. It's just different canons. What I
yeah,
mean by canon, meaning what books go into the collective. So the Quran
okay,
explicitly says that it confirms everything that was with the Jews and the Christians.
right.
Everything that was in there
I've heard
together.
this argument before.
Right. So that's
I've heard
everything.
this.
Yeah. So that's
Right,
everything.
I've heard
Everything
this.
they have.
I can't like argue about that and then go because I'm not a scholar and
But I
everything. But
mean,
one thing I can
you
say,
shouldn't argue. That's what it's what the Quran says. You shouldn't argue against it.
well, obviously we have to look in the Quran is spoken in, and you have to take everything in context, right? You believe that too, right? I'm sure you do. Like everything you have
Yeah.
to take in stride. You have to understand that the time when it was revealed, like how it was revealed and everything.
So, but this is the point that I'm getting to. For you,
Right.
in order for you to test what the Quran says, you have to go check. You got to go read what came before it. That's
Right.
how you
Okay.
know.
I hear you.
Without having the scriptures, that came before the Quran, you can't know for sure if the Quran actually is in line with them. The Quran could
Right.
be lying for all we know.
Okay. That's a fair point. But let me ask. There's 7 billion people in this world, right? Not everyone is gonna be reading history and everything and try to get to the nuts and bolts of every religion and try to. So it comes down to faith, right?
No,
Everything. It comes down to faith and belief.
no,
You don't believe that? You
not
believe
blind
that
faith.
every person in the world can be as brilliant of mind as you and
It has
be
nothing to do with
history
that,
and
bro.
learn.
Has nothing to do with that. We're dealing with the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter is the evidence that's presented. We have to deal with the
Okay.
evidence. It's not just blind faith. This is what I'm asking. I'm asking, why
Right.
is Islam true?
It's
Not that you
it's
just believe it, because I know you believe Islam is true. I'm
right.
asking for why. And so just for saying, oh, I believe this, I believe that, that's fine and dandy. You have every prerogative to believe whatever you want. But
Right.
I'm
Right.
asking
Absolutely.
for proof and evidence. If you say like I like this angle. I believe in Islam because the Quran is a book of guidance and is in
Right.
line with what came before it. I like that
Okay.
because that's something I can test.
Okay.
So when
It's
I
also
actually test it, I put the Quran side by side with what came before it. I can see whether or not the Quran's telling the truth if it lines
right.
up with what
Okay.
came before it. And what I
Okay. Let
see
me.
is that it doesn't.
Can I add one more thing? The Quran also can be applied to modern day life right now.
Well, that's another. That's okay. That's
That's the one I
we
can
can get to
defend
that
right
point
now.
later.
That's the one I can defend right now. That unfortunately I can't defend like about the past because I'm not a historian. But I can
Well, you
give you
don't
my
have to,
point of
my
view
friend. I'm
of
not a
the
historian either. You don't have to be a historian to be able to check whether or not the Quran is telling the truth here. If the Quran says it confirms the Torah, you know what we can do? We can go straight to the Torah and read it to see if the Quran is in line with it. If the Quran says it confirms the Psalms or the Gospel, we can go to the Psalms and the Gospel, pull it up. It's online. We have books. We have it. We can check to see if the Quran is actually telling the truth, if it's in line with the prophets. And we see
okay.
that it's not.
Okay. Well, that I can't argue because I can't go back and forth because I can't give you sufficient evidence and you're I can't. I can give you what I know for true in modern day world why I believe Islam is the truth. And
Okay,
if you want me, I can speak on that.
so you believe that Islam is conducive to modern times.
It can, yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you something. I'm gonna pull up something. What are your thoughts on child marriage?
You're gonna bring up this argument. We want to talk about this argument. Okay. Okay. So that's not modern time because that was a different era in time. You can look it through history and everything about how the age of marriage was developed.
That's not what I
But
asked. I asked, how do you feel about child marriage, bro?
how do I feel about child marriage? The problem with that question is back then everyone was marrying off their like arranged marriages were known.
And you know
Like
what?
child marriage doesn't
Back then, they used to sell people that looked like me for slavery and forced labor.
yes, I understand that,
Is that
but
okay?
that's not that's not a Sharia child marriage. You're talking about the life
It is
of
a
Prophet
Sharia.
Muhammad.
It is a Sharia. I'm not even talking about Muhammad.
That that's not child marriage is not a law.
Yes, it is.
Like okay, so I guess you got to bring it up. So let's go over it if you want to bring it up.
Yeah, well, I'll show you that in a second. But in the meantime, before I do that, I want to get your opinion. How do you feel about child marriage? Why is this so hard to answer?
Obviously,
It,
I don't think it's like appropriate right now. child marriage because
Good. You don't think it's appropriate?
women have more. Right. We
Good.
don't have arranged marriages now. But if like
So,
two families
oh yeah, you do actually.
had like a
You still to this day have arranged marriages. I just
yeah, but
saw
it's not as
I just
prevalent
saw a
as right
video
now.
where I just saw a video where a daughter was sold to a man for marriage as a little wife. She was like 7.
Sold.
Yeah,
Sold.
sold.
That's not really
Yeah,
arranged marriage is when two
that
families
is
come
an
together,
arranged
the
marriage.
parents and everything.
Well,
If you sell your thing,
that's literally what an arranged marriage is. It's a marriage that is decided by the guardians or the parents, and they're arranging the marriage. It's not the choice of the bride.
okay.
So that's what an arranged marriage is. So this person made a deal with the girl's daughter. I mean, the girl's father, because the father, he was running out of money, and the guy was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll buy your daughter. I'll give you the dowry for your daughter, and you'll be straight." And so they did that. He sold his daughter as a wife, and she was like 7 years
Obviously,
old.
things have developed over time throughout generations and modern times that you do realize that like in California, the age of marriage was 10 in 1880. Like things have
Again,
developed in modern
again.
times, you know?
Oh,
And
right.
this is
I like
and
that. So
we're
you're saying, wait, just one second. So you're saying that in time, we as humans develop for the better. Like we get better. We get away from doing the bad thing, and we do better.
right, absolutely. Of course, we're humans.
So
Yeah,
what
of
you're saying
course.
is that
Yes. But
I
child
got you.
marriage
So
isn't
what you're
God's
saying
law.
is, yeah, just hold on. So what you're saying is that we have developed in a better way morally than what Allah allowed and taught in the Quran and the Hadiths. We today as a culture are better than the religion of Islam.
No, I wouldn't put in that statement. No, because I don't believe child marriage was a Sharia that is meant to be for all times. Like God, I believe that the Quran is like God's final message to
So
mankind,
if
to
it wasn't for
humankind.
all time, if Allah allowed it during Muhammad's time, and you're
And during
saying that
Jesus'
we
time, and
developed
during
better,
Moses' time,
huh?
and during the previous prophet's time, and
No, it
everything,
wasn't.
you know?
Well, it was not.
I'm sure it was, bro.
It wasn't.
I'm sure it was.
But it wasn't though.
If the
You have a
if the
verse?
Roman law was age 12 in like 100 BC or whatever, and King Richard married
All
a,
right,
a
so
girl
you
at
you
7
keep
years
naming
old,
all of these
it-
people that you're comparing. So are these people prophets and guided by God, guided by Allah?
I didn't say the prophets married children. I didn't say that. I
Yes,
said
you did. You
during
said
their
it was
time.
even permissible in Moses' time and the prophet's time.
I said during their times. Yes.
Okay,
This is what's prevalent in
so
society. But
this is what I'm
we're
asking.
getting we're
Yeah,
going far left field,
I'm
bro.
trying to hold on, because it sounds like you're mixing in cultural relativism with God's law and commands. Are those the same thing?
No,
Like
no, no, no.
does God's laws and commands stand out from the culture, or does God like demean himself and line up with whatever is popular with culture?
Avery, I said that I don't believe child marriage is Sharia, okay, or whatever.
Okay.
I don't believe God's like put in for guidance in human being that we must marry blah 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 child and blah 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 like that. I
What if
believe
he
that's
explicitly gave you permission to do it though? What if he didn't? What if he gave you permission to do it? What then?
so. It's such a tough question to ask because when you have like families growing up in neighborhoods, right? And you have a daughter. We're not talking about consummating the marriage. We're not talking about like having sex and
We're
everything, bro.
talking about,
We're
brother,
talking
we're talking about
this
consummating the
girl when
marriage.
she becomes of age, she's gonna be your wife and have your
We're
kids and blah
talking
blah
about
blah. You know.
consummating the marriage. We're talking about I'm not just talking about marriage contracts. I'm talking
So
about marriages and that are consummated.
so when are you allowed to consummate the marriage?
Whenever you want, as long as it doesn't
No,
cause her harm.
no. When I need to see specific. When does it say consummate the
Trust me,
marriage?
I'm going to show you everything. But first,
Okay,
before
so
I show you everything, I want to
bro,
hear
I've
where your
seen your
conviction
videos,
is.
bro.
Before I show you
I believe
everything,
Okay,
want to,
okay. All right. What I believe,
yeah,
what I believe is
yeah.
that God made us the human body, and when a woman menstruates, that means physically she's able to carry a child. So I believe a child cannot carry a child for 9 months and have a baby. So if God made her body menstruate, that means she can carry another, she can create another human being in her body. Whatever age that is. Is she 14? We've seen high school marriages,
Yeah, let's
whether it's
say
12.
let's say this girl menstruated at 8. Do you think that it's okay for a man to marry and sleep with her at 8, even
But
though she bled?
I, bro, you're asking for my personal belief, but God
Yeah.
created our bodies. So why did God make her menstruate?
Well,
Menstruate,
menstruation doesn't mean
when a
that she's a
woman
woman.
menstruates,
My friend, listen.
no, no,
Menstruation
no.
doesn't mean that you're a woman yet.
So what does
Menstruation is
menstruation
a
mean?
sign of growing and maturity. Puberty doesn't mean
Menstruate,
you're a woman. Puberty means you're growing and maturing. You're not
menstruation
yet a
means
woman yet.
you're developing an egg
You're
in her
developing.
womb, and it can be turned
So
into
can you just answer the
another human
question?
body.
Can you just answer the
If she
question?
I answered you, bro. If God created our bodies and she makes a woman body menstruate, that means she can have a baby inside her. So who am
Okay,
I
so is
to
it
argue
okay?
with
Like, let's say
God?
she's 8 years old and she bled. Is it okay for a man, let's say 50 years old, to go ahead and marry that little girl, that 8-year-old, and sleep with her?
Bro, my opinion is regardless.
I wanted to
I would
know. I
not
want to know.
I would
No,
not
answer
like
the
that.
question. Is
No,
that
I would
okay?
not like that, bro. I
Huh?
would not like that. I would not like that, but who
So
am
it's
I
wrong?
who am I to say it's right or wrong? If God made I don't want to talk about this argument.
Of course you
God
don't.
made a human body.
It's very uncomfortable for Muslims. You want to know why? Because the moment that you say this is
No, it's
wrong,
it's uncomfortable
let me
for modern
let me finish.
times, bro.
When-
Because no, it's uncomfortable in
once
modern
you
times.
acknowledge, Sailor Moon, relax. Once you acknowledge that this is wrong, like you know it is, but for some reason you're
And
struggling to say it, but this is normal. It's normal for a Muslim to struggle with this because they know that once you say this is wrong, you have just condemned Muhammad, and then you've also condemned the
no, I
Quran.
didn't condemn Muhammad. No,
Okay,
no, no,
so
no,
I'll
no.
ask
So
again.
what
I'll ask
age did
again.
Mary?
Is it
What age did
wrong,
the
bro? Sailor Moon, it's a yes or no. Is it wrong
no?
for a
It doesn't
man
matter,
to sleep with an 8-year-old girl even though she bled? Is that wrong? Yes or no, bro?
bro. If it's a wife and they had two families, and this was in the past time, and it was acceptable during that time. As I told you, in Roman law, the age was 12 and 100 BC.
So now
Saint
Roman law is
Augustine.
equal to Allah's Sharia.
I'm telling you, no,
Roman
no. I'm
law
telling you
is
how
equal
the
to Allah's Sharia, Allah's
bro.
law.
Why are you putting words in my mouth, bro?
So then stop
I'm not
bringing up
putting.
Roman law. We're
I'm
talking
telling
about
you how
Islam.
society has developed. How even
It's a
recently,
yes or no. Is it okay for a 54-year-old man to sleep with a little 8-year-old girl that he marries that has bled?
bro. can- Bro, times have changed.
Have
You
times
agree
changed
that
for the
times
better?
have changed.
Have times changed for the better or the worse?
In some ways, in the better, and most ways, it's for the
All right,
worse.
so let me ask you this. Is it better for a man, a 54-year-old man, to sleep with an 8-year-old girl that he marries that has bled? Or is it better that he doesn't sleep with her, with an 8-year-old girl that's bled? Which one is better?
Okay, let me ask you something. Can I? Can I?
No, answer the
Can,
question.
it doesn't matter what was the question? I didn't even hear you correctly. What was the question? I'm sorry, Avery. What was the question?
You know, it does take a lot. It takes a lot to deal with you guys. It does. It doesn't matter what demeanor you guys come with. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You're a Muslim. You're a Muslim.
Bro, you
And
didn't even let me get to
as
my
a Muslim,
arguments,
let me talk.
my points.
I'm talking,
All
please.
right,
Don't
okay,
don't
okay,
interrupt me.
okay, okay.
Do not interrupt me right now. You guys have the same Like you have the same. Well, you have the same spirit. You do. You have the same spirit. That spirit that is antichrist, the spirit that is against truth. No matter how cool of a person that you might be, when it comes to these things, that spirit awakens, man, in all of you. It manifests. It manifests. We are dealing like it's spiritual warfare, guys, and you're seeing it right on display. We saw it from Musa earlier, the manifestation. We're seeing it now from our nice person, Sailor Moon's a nice guy, but he's in Islam, in the darkness and chains of Islam. It's to the point where our friend cannot answer a simple question that he knows the answer to, but he cannot answer it. He just can't. He can't. And I don't think it's an intellectual thing. It's a spiritual thing that's blocking him and blocks these people from being able to engage honestly, from being able to acknowledge truth, to be real and call out falsehood and evil. It's a spiritual warfare, man. And I pray the Holy Spirit opens your heart, bro, and opens your mind and breaks the chains that Islam has you in, bro. Because this is terrible. You can't answer whether it's okay or not for a 54-year-old man to sleep with an 8-year-old girl that he married who bled, whether that's okay or not. You can't give a yes or no to that. Let me show you how easy it is to answer that. I'll show you how easy it is to answer that.
All right, you proved your point. You made me look like a fool. Can
I know,
we move on
I
to
don't
other
want you.
topic? Because
No,
I
I'm
didn't
not
want to
making
talk
you look
about
like
this.
a fool. It's
You
Islam,
yeah, you
bro.
did. You made
It's
me.
Islam. It's not you.
No.
Not
It's you,
you.
bro. It's you,
It's
bro.
not
It's
you.
you.
It's
It's you
Islam.
because 2
It's
billion
Islam.
people around this.
Here's the thing, Sailor Moon. I'm addressing why you said Islam is true. You said because it is conducive to today's times.
Bro,
And I bring
okay.
up one thing. About that's in Islam, whether it's conducive with today's times, and it's obviously not. You even said it's
Okay,
not.
okay. All right. Before you start attacking and everything, can I have an opportunity to talk?
I only want you to.
Okay.
You can have the opportunity to talk, Sailor Moon, if you answer my question. Give me a yes or no, and then expound.
What was the question again?
You really don't remember what I
Seriously,
asked?
what? No, honestly, because you're obviously you see how I talk and I'm an introvert. You're like coming at me, and obviously I'm new to this thing. I already explained to you.
I'll
I'm
ask it
not as
again, bro. I'll
intellectual.
ask it
Okay,
again.
sure,
I'll just
sure,
ask it just straight away. Just straight away.
sure.
Is marrying and having sex with an 8-year-old who has bled, is that okay? Yes or no?
No,
Very
I'll
good.
say no.
Now expound. You have the room. Go ahead.
Okay, but okay. So you just okay. So you're gonna clip that or whatever and do what you want with that. But okay, so we'll agree to
It's a full
disagree.
discussion, bro. We
Okay.
do full discussions here. I post full
I know,
discussion.
I know, I know. Sure,
Okay.
but okay.
So what
All
do you
right.
have to say? Go ahead and expound. No, it's not okay. Thank you for saying that. Now expound.
Expound on that point, or can I expound on Islam, or can we like
On this point, this is where we're on this point. This is Islam.
okay? But I also believe times have changed, and obviously during now 2024, if obviously in most societies and around the world, an 8-year-old can't marry a 54-year-old. But can we move on to another point or no?
Nope. No, because I haven't even shown you what I want to show you yet. So now
I
that
know
you
you're gonna
know,
show me the hadiths and
nope,
everything, and
I'm not even going to Hadith, bro.
or
I'm going to the
okay,
Quran.
okay. Show me what you want to show me. Show
Yeah.
me.
I'm going to show you that from the Quran, you are allowed to marry little girls. And you try to put the menstruation label there, like, oh, like if they're menstruated, then that's okay, that there's makes it somewhat
Okay.
better. I'm going to show
Uh-huh.
you that from the Quran, they don't even have to menstruate for you to be allowed to sleep with them. Before menstruation, the Quran allows you.
And does the Bible have any marriage laws in the Bible?
Yes, I'll show you that. Matter of fact,
Okay.
let me just show you this really quick.
Okay, let's talk about the Bible and the Quran then,
Yeah.
and
After I
compare 'em.
show, yeah, of course. After I show you
Okay.
what the Quran says, I'm going to show you what the Bible says on this. That's a fair thing. What does the Bible say on this? It's a fair question. Okay. Absolutely fair. So let me go ahead and show you what the Quran says.
Okay.
So we're going to be looking at this one right here, 65:4. Right here, over here, I'm going to pull up the other verse here. All right. So 65:4, you see it on the screen?
Which one?
65:4 right here. The one on the left.
Okay.
Okay.
Which one? That's Surah 65, verse 4.
That's right. I'm going to read it.
Okay, I have my Quran too.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
can
good.
read too. If I just want to see if they're the same or whatever. Blah blah blah. You know.
No worries.
Okay, what is it? Verse 4.
Yeah.
Okay. If mine says, if you are in a doubt, the period of waiting will be 3 months for those women who have ceased menstruation, and for those who have not yet menstruated. The waiting period of those who are pregnant will be until they deliver their burden. God
Mhm.
makes things easy for those who are mindful of Him. So mine
Yeah.
has a little note on the. No, I'm sorry, that was a different letter.
But you see it though. So
Oh,
it
hold on.
says, so it's talking about divorce. This is talking about divorce. That literally the name of this chapter is talaq, which means
Right,
divorce.
I know it's divorce. Right, yeah, yeah.
So it's telling them what to do with the females that they divorce, and you know, um, before they can move on to the next man. Okay.
Okay,
It,
so can we read the verses before so we can get a broader picture? Maybe that.
well, you can if you want. I'm telling you right now, they don't. The verses before have nothing. They don't touch.
Can I
They have
read it
no
out
weight.
loud for your audience and everything so everyone can
If
get
you
a
want, bro,
broader picture?
you're wasting time. But sure, go ahead. If it makes you feel better, go ahead.
All right, it says, Prophet, when any of you intend to, this is the first verse. Prophet, when any of you intend to divorce women, do it at a set time when their prescribed waiting period can properly start. And it gives a little note. All right, I'm not gonna waste your time in reading those because I'm a slow reader anyway. So anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
What was your question?
So verse 4. So you see how in verse 4 it said that for when you're divorcing them, right? Those who
Mhm.
have ceased menstruation. Those who have ceased menstruation, right? Those are females who are too old to menstruate. That's called menopause.
Sure.
So when you divorce the females who are too old to menstruate, their waiting period is 3 months. And the same goes for those who have not yet menstruated. Those are little girls who haven't hit puberty yet.
Okay.
And
This is
then
for
it talks,
divorce, right?
yeah, it's talking about divorcing them. So
Okay.
they've married. So the third category talks about the pregnant women. And for those who are pregnant, their waiting
Okay.
period or term is until they give birth, right? That's when they
Okay.
can move on. So we're focusing on the second category of the females, the ones who
All
have
right.
not yet
Okay.
menstruated.
Now I see. Now I'm kind of understanding where you're coming from. Okay.
Mhm. So it says here that they're divorcing girls before they even hit puberty. They've married them, and now they're even divorcing them before they hit puberty.
Okay.
Now, here's the important part about this.
Okay.
You see how it says that they have a waiting period, right?
Okay.
According to the Quran, when you're divorcing a woman, she only has a waiting period if you've slept with her.
Okay.
So if you haven't touched her, if you have not slept with her, then she doesn't have a waiting period.
Okay.
So this means that since these girls are being divorced, right? even before they've
Mhm.
even hit puberty yet, and they
Mhm.
have a waiting period, means that their husbands slept with them before they even hit puberty.
No, that's what. Where are you getting that, bro? If you in doubt, then their period is 3 months for the ones who menstruated, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it says, right?
Yep.
And for those who have not menstruated, that can be implied that they haven't consummated the marriage, so the woman is free to be given to another man or be married to another man.
Nope.
It doesn't say the man has consummated that marriage with the woman
Okay.
that is not
Go
menstruated.
to chapter. I have the verse on the screen. You see the verse on the right? You see what I have on the right?
Okay. And which surah is that? Where are we talking about now?
Are
Surah
you
33.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is that? What is this? What is this context now? Obviously, that chapter was about divorce. Okay,
This is
so
the same thing. Just
so
talking
okay. Well,
about
the
divorce.
Quran is not given in chronological order like the Bible,
We're not
right?
talking
You
about
agree
that.
with
We're
that,
talking
right?
about the topic of divorce,
But,
bro. You don't worry about
but
anything else.
you no, but you should explain to the audience in everything's in context, right?
I've already explained it.
This
They
isn't
they heard the explanation. You're the only one who
this
doesn't
isn't
understand what I just said.
no. We just went to
My friend,
verse
just go
65.
ahead and get to
Okay,
chapter
so
33, verse 49. Just go ahead and get there.
33:49. Okay.
I have it on the screen, like you don't have to
Okay. All you who have believed, when you marry believing women and then divorce them, you have touched them.
before you have
Then
touched.
there is not before you have touched them, then there is not for you any waiting period to count concerning them.
You
So
see that?
provide them and give them gracious release. Yes.
So you see how they
When you
do
have
not have
married,
a waiting period when they're getting divorced if they haven't had sex, right?
okay.
You understand that?
Let me read again. All you have who have believed, when you marry believing women and then divorce them before you have touched them, then there is not for you any waiting period to count concerning them.
So you
You
see
marry
that
believing women.
So you see that in order for a waiting period to be had, in order for the woman to have a waiting period who's being divorced, her husband had to have slept with her in order for her to have a waiting period when she gets divorced. You see that?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So how does this relate to what we just read in 65:4? In
How do you
65:4, the
how do you
girls,
know they relate? Okay.
yeah,
I'm
the
sorry.
girls who
Finish.
have not menstruated, they have a waiting period. The ones who have not yet menstruated, the ones who haven't hit puberty yet, they have a waiting period. You
Okay.
see that?
Okay.
So that means that their husbands slept with them since they have a
No, that
waiting
doesn't
period.
mean that. That does not mean that. You're taking one verse and applying the meaning and applying Avery, come on, you're better than that. That does not mean that. Taking two different verses of the Quran and you know the Quran is
now they're trying to get money to
You're
get
back?
out of the
Yeah,